Most people will hate this truth. Making millions doesn't necessarily take decades. Being wealthy when you're 50 is fine, but being wealthy when you're young? That is true freedom. I wasn't born into luxury, quite the opposite. I started from sub-zero, a working-class kid without a penny to my name, but I found a shortcut. Today, I will share it with you so that you can also build your empire from $0. Forget the old advice. We start right now. Do you remember the feeling of being a student, sitting in a large lecture hall, facing a rosy future? I remember that day very well. The teacher asked us to write down 3 things: our dream job, dream car, and dream house. I held the pen with all the excitement of youth and wrote very neatly, business owner, Ferrari, $1 million mansion. But her reaction wasn't encouragement. She looked at my paper, then looked straight into my eyes with a smile full of pity and said, "Leo, life is going to be very harsh. I'm going to tell you the bad news right now. You are never going to have those things. Be realistic and lower your expectations." At that moment, I felt a terrifying silence envelop me. It wasn't just advice. It was a sentence that the system was trying to impose on me. They wanted me to believe that my place was at the bottom, and any effort to rise was an illusion. This reminds me of a story about how people train circus elephants. When it is a baby elephant, they chain its leg to a very deep wooden stake. It tries to struggle but cannot break free. After hundreds of failures, the baby elephant's brain defaults to a belief: this stake is stronger than me. I can never escape. Many years later, when the elephant has grown powerful with tons of strength, people only need to tie its leg to a thin rope attached to a small stake on the ground. The elephant could completely yank that stake out with just a flick of its leg, but it never tries again. Well, it stands there because it believes in the lies of the past. That teacher and this entire education system are trying to drive a wooden stake into your mind. They want to program poverty into your DNA before you've even had a chance to start. But in that very moment, a voice inside me screamed, "No, I will have it all." I've carried that attitude throughout my life. I realized that. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. If you allow this world to define what is realistic, you will forever be that elephant tied to that thin rope. To build wealth from zero, the first thing you must do is not find a way to make money, but to yank out the wooden stake in your mind and reject the lie of the lecture hall. Leaving the lecture hall with a head full of dreams, I plunged straight into reality. At that time, I was 20 years old and became a carpenter apprentice in a large woodworking shop in town. I was very excited because I always loved the feeling of creating something with my own hands. But life was not like a dream. The manager there, for some unknown reason, absolutely hated me. Every day going to work was a nightmare for me. He assigned me all the trashiest jobs. From cleaning up sawdust and hauling heavy wood under the sun to nameless tasks that no one else wanted to do. He scolded and humiliated me in front of everyone just to satisfy his ego. I felt like a trapped person with no way out. One evening, after a long day of being humiliated, I returned home with bleeding hands and clothes covered in dirt. I slumped down onto the ragged sofa in my cramped rented room, looking around the 4 peeling walls and wondering, is this my life? How long am I going to stand here and endure this torture? And right then, my survival instinct kicked in. I realized I had a massive weapon that few people notice. I had nothing to lose. I had no wife, no children, I was only 20, and my biggest assets were an empty stomach and a ton of time. Many people choose to submit because they fear risk. But I ask myself, what is risk? Is it quitting this job and starving? Or is the real risk staying here for 5 more years and letting him crush my soul? That very night, I took a piece of paper and applied what I call the 10 solutions rule. Instead of sitting and complaining, I forced my brain to come up with at least 10 ways to escape this hole and start making money on my own terms. taking orders for small furniture at home, finding another woodworking shop but negotiating based on work results, learning more about online business. I wrote until I had 10 options. When you force yourself to find a way out, your brain works like a war machine. I thought of Harry Potter, on if he had just submitted to sitting in that cramped cupboard under the stairs, enduring the abuse of the Dursley family, he would have forever remained just an unhappy orphan. He would never have known he was a wizard, never seen Hogwarts, and certainly never defeated Voldemort. To become the hero of your own life, you must dare to step out of the cupboard of fake stability. The next day, I walked into the workshop and submitted my resignation immediately. I didn't know exactly what tomorrow would bring, but I knew I had to sow seeds. The Bible has an extremely practical teaching in Ecclesiastes 11:6. In the morning, sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. That was exactly how I started. I didn't just do one thing. I sowed seeds everywhere. I worked frantically, regardless of the hours, because I understood that when starting from zero, the only way to win is to sow more seeds than anyone else. You don't need a large amount of capital. You just need the survival instinct of someone with no way back and a list of 10 solutions in hand. So, are you ready to sow your seeds? After leaving the carpentry shop, my life didn't bloom immediately. I spent years staying up all night to build this model shop. Every penny of profit earned, I poured back into stock and marketing. At that time, the concept of investing was a luxury to me. I only knew how to bury my head in the only seed I had, my shop. But you know, opportunity sometimes knocks in ways you never expect. One summer, I took in a 14-year-old boy named Mason for a 2-week internship. Mason was very agile, but every time he had a free hand, he was glued to his phone, muttering some numbers. One afternoon, seeing him so absorbed, I laughed and said, "Hey Mason, at what gaming tournament are you watching that's so intense?" The boy looked up, his eyes bright. "No, Uncle Leo, I'm looking at stock charts. Look at this. This ticker is about to explode. I just put all $1,000 of my paper route money into this. I bet it'll fly straight to the moon." To be honest, at that time I just thought, this boy is dreaming too much. But his decisiveness made me pause. I wondered, why would a 14-year-old dare to bet his entire fortune like that? And I also took a chance and put a little money in following him, treating it like a small game. At the end of the internship, I drove to the shop and called Mason to a corner. "Hey young man, do you know what your account looks like today?" Mason scratched his head and smiled gently. "I haven't had a chance to check yet, Uncle. And doing an apprenticeship like this, I don't get a salary." I patted him hard on the shoulder. "No need for a salary, Mason. Your account just jumped to $15,000. That stock ticker has multiplied 15 times overnight." That shock made me realize a truth that later, when reading Fidelity's research, I saw how terrifying it was. You know, if you invest for 40 years, but miss just the 5 best trading days, your profits will evaporate by 38%. And if you miss the 10 best days, you will lose 55% of the money you should have had. What is the lesson here? Wealth is not for those who like to guess the top or bottom of the market. It is for those who are present at the right time and for long enough. It is just like planting a bamboo tree. Throughout the first 4 years, you water it and fertilize it, but you don't see it grow even a single centimeter. Many people give up because they think their seed is rotten. But by the 5th year, that bamboo can reach 25 meters high in just 6 weeks. In reality, it didn't grow fast in those 6 weeks. It spent 4 years building a massive root system underground. My model shop was the root system, and that stock surge was when the bamboo stretched out. That is why I always engrave the teaching in Ecclesiastes 11:6. In the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. Mason sowed his seed in the morning, and I sowed the shop seed in the afternoon. We didn't know which seed would bring in $10,000, so we chose to sow seeds continuously. Don't wait until you have a pile of money or wait for a perfect time to start. The truth is, the most perfect time is right now, when you have the seed in your hand. Never underestimate any suggestion, even from an intern kid, because sometimes that is the seed that will completely change your life. When you start tasting the flavor of 10 times account returns, your heart rate will change. You will find yourself suddenly standing in the ranks of the wealthiest. But trust me, making money is only half the game. Keeping it and turning it into an impregnable fortress is the true level of mastery. I once had a friend, let's temporarily call him Harrison. Harrison wasn't just rich, he was a legend, listed among the 50 richest people in the United Kingdom. I remember forever the skyrocketing firework parties at his mansion, where ultra-luxury cars lined the driveway. During a quiet evening over a cup of coffee, I asked, "Harrison, how can you create such massive cash flow just from business?" He laughed, his eyes full of complacency. "Leo, business is just the surface. The secret lies in leverage. I participate in an investment group using massive leverage. Profits of 30, 40, even 50% per year are normal." To be honest, my ears were ringing from those numbers. It was too tempting. But an instinct from my carpentry days told me anything too perfect is usually a trap. I decided to stay out. Just 3 months later, the financial storm arrived. That investment group disintegrated in just 1 week because they used too much leverage, meaning borrowing to invest. When the market dropped just a little, they didn't just lose all their capital, but also carried massive debts. Harrison lost everything. The mansion, the firework parties, the reputation. It all evaporated like a dream. He was wiped out because he built his empire on the sinking sand of greed. And Harrison's story taught me, never invest in things you don't clearly understand, and never bet your entire life on a single card. To never end up empty-handed, I chose to build a fortress instead of a sandcastle. I apply a strategy that the financial world calls the 3-fund portfolio. Total U.S. stock market fund, to take advantage of the growth of the world's #1 economy. Total international stock market fund, to protect myself if the U.S. faces trouble. A total global bond market fund. This is the safety airbag, helping my assets from free-falling when the market panics. Many people criticize it as slow, but I'd rather go slow and surely reach the destination than rush fast like a lightning bolt, then burn out forever. Thousands of years ago, the Bible gave a golden piece of advice on diversification that still remains a compass for every billionaire today. In Ecclesiastes 11:2, it is written, "Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth." Harrison put everything into one portion, and when disaster struck, he had no way back. As for me, I choose to divide into 7 or 8. I don't just invest in stocks. I also have real estate, classic cars, luxury watches, and other passive income streams. You see, the blueprint of a sustainable empire doesn't lie in how much you earn in a brilliant year, but in how much you have left after the worst year. Don't let greed turn you into a second Harrison. Build your fortress with wisdom, not with risky leverage. So, are you ready to divide into 7 or 8 portions for your future? You see, a great blueprint doesn't just stop at finishing building a house. It is the way you plan an entire city so that no matter what storm passes through, the light never goes out. After Harrison's fall, I realized one thing. True wealth is not measured by the amount of money you earn, but measured by the number of income streams that protect you. Look at the great works of the ancient Romans. They didn't lead water to the city with just a single canal. They built a massive aqueduct system, taking water from dozens of different springs high up in the mountains. If a spring dried up or a section of the bridge broke, the people of Rome still had water to use. My empire is built exactly like that. I never allow myself to depend on a single spring. Many people ask me why. When I already have money, I go out and buy these classic cars or similar expensive things. They think it is showing off. But no, to me, these are wealth bunkers. When inflation sweeps through and currency loses value, these tangible, scarce, and historical values are exactly what keep your assets from evaporating. Currently, the cash flow into my pocket every day comes from an intricate network, from physical stores, a distribution company, to profits from affiliate marketing, onto advertising revenue, dividends from the stock market, and rental income from the real estate portfolio that I have persistently accumulated. To be honest, sometimes I don't even remember all the sources of income I have, but I know one thing for sure: not a single wrong decision can wipe me out anymore. This is the final destination of the blueprint that I want to give to you. The ancients summarized it in a saying that I always consider as a compass. Give a portion to 7, or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. Ecclesiastes 11:2. Don't just save to survive. Don't just work to pay bills. Build to master your fate. Remember the day I sat in that lecture hall when they told me to be realistic? Today, I stand here to tell you that their reality is a cage, and this blueprint is a pair of wings. You already have the roadmap in your hand. From breaking old mindsets, sowing seeds at the right time, to building a fortress of multiple income streams, the rest is up to you. Will you choose to stay in the narrow glass tank or dare to jump out into the vast ocean? The decision is yours.